What's up, everybody, and welcome back. This is another huge week in entertainment news. We've got news from the holiday movie front. We got some big news coming out of the Star Wars universe, and we have to say goodbye to some icons this week. So get yourself a nice, cool drink and settle in for this week's show. I'm Tasha Pierce, and this is the Weekly WrapUp. Okay, so before we go on, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I am doing some rebranding. We are no longer After the Snap. We are Tasha Pierce Unwrapped, and I think I'm in my villain era. So, yeah, we just changed some things around. You'll find that the content will remain pretty much the same. I just thought it was time to grow the channel up a little bit. And now let's move to our first stories, which are sad stories. We're going to take a moment to remember some true giants who've left an indelible mark on the world of entertainment. First, we must say goodbye to the legendary Quincy Jones, a musical maestro whose influence spanned genres, generations, from producing Michael Jackson's Thriller, the best-selling album of all time, period, to composing scores for classic films like In the Heat of the Night. Ooh, Jones's contributions to music are immeasurable. He was a true innovator, breaking barriers and pushing creative boundaries throughout his extraordinary career. Next, we mourn the loss of Tony Todd, an actor whose commanding presence and distinctive voice brought gravitas to every role he touched, every single one. Horror fans will forever remember him as the chilling Candyman, a performance that solidified his place in genre history. But his talent extended far beyond horror, with memorable roles in films like Platoon and television series like my favorite, Star Trek. He will be missed. He will be greatly missed. Finally, we pay tribute to Judith Jamison, a dance icon whose artistry and athleticism captivated audiences worldwide. As a principal dancer with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, she brought a unique blend of power and grace to the stage. Later, as artistic director, she continued Ailey's legacy, nurturing new talent and ensuring that the company remained a vibrant force in the world of dance. These three icons, Quincy Jones, Tony Todd, Judith Jamison, each left their own unique legacy. They were pioneers, innovators, and artists who shaped their respective fields and inspired countless others. Their absence will be deeply felt, but their work will continue to entertain, to challenge, and to inspire for generations to come. And sadly, another loss we may have endured this week is our democracy. But I'm proud of the 92% though, so I'm minding my black business. Let me know how you feel about all of these tragic losses this week, especially that last one, and we will move on to the next topic. Before I go any further, I'd like to say a very big thank you to my patrons and channel members. You see them flowing across your screen right now. Thank you guys for keeping the lights on around here. If you too would like to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/Tasha Pierce, or you can click that join button right here on this here video. Or maybe you might just want to send me a one-time donation via Super Thanks or Cash App. All of those will be down in the description. Thank you so much. I promised you some Star Wars news, so now I'm going to give you some Star Wars news. We have learned out of D23 Brazil that April 22nd, 2025 will be the return of Andor on Disney Plus. This release date comes directly after the Star Wars celebration set for April 18th through 20th. 2025, and it suggests that the convention might feature some extensive promotion, exclusive content for the show. This will be the final season. We knew this going in of Andor. It's going to have 12 episodes. That release is going to be coming 2.5 years after we have been patiently waiting for season 2 after season 1's dynamic finale from November of 2022. Depending on how they choose to release this, it may run until like June or July, because if it'll run until June 24th if they start the season off with 3 episodes. It'll run through July 8th if they give us weekly single episodes, and then it'll stop somewhere in between if they do something a little bit different. So this timing, of course, allows Disney Plus to space out other upcoming Star Wars content, including The Mandalorian and the Grogu movie. That's coming out in May 2026. And Ahsoka Season 2, which we do not have a date yet for. Disney Plus is really amping up the word of mouth for Andor Season 2 because it had such a great reception critically and amongst the fans in its first season. And it got awards recognition. It had 8 Emmy nominations and 1 Golden Globe nomination. If the writing, directing, and acting is as on point as it was in season 1, I expect to see some wins coming for Andor season 2. So I'm excited about Andor season 2. I really enjoyed the first season. We still will be following Diego Luna as Cassian Andor, and it's the 5 years leading up to Rogue One. So we knew that there was no way that these characters were going to hang around, because if you've seen Rogue One, you know what happens. So we're going to chronicle his transformation from a thief to a key figure in the rebellion against the Empire. Now, this other Star Wars news comes in the form of an announcement, and it is a big one. The big announcement was we can look forward to a new trilogy of films, and it is going to be helmed by Simon Kinberg. Y'all know Simon Kinberg. Now, look, Simon Kinberg has a lot of experience working in the Star Wars universe. He worked on Rebels, he produced an awful lot of Star Wars content. But Lucasfilm selecting him has come with a bit of I guess, mixed reactions. Now, the things that I look at as far as positives for Simon Kinberg is that he's a screenwriter. His screenwriting credits have grossed over $3 billion worldwide. He's experienced many major franchises, but one of the big concerns is one of those franchises is the X-Men, and the 2 movies that he had a big hand in as far as directing uh, with the X-Men were commercial failures. That was Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants. Both of those bombed. Then he also did that movie, The 355. That one did not have a strong reception, and it really didn't make any money. I think it made something like $18 million worldwide, which, by the way, you know, I like to talk about numbers and figures. That is not good for that movie. But Simon Kinberg has an existing relationship with Lucasfilm, particularly Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni, from when they worked on Star Wars Rebels. I don't know if he knows where the bodies are buried and that's why they are taking this chance, but it seems like maybe it won't be such a bad idea because he will have those familiar faces to fall back on if he runs into problems. Again, he has a lot of Star Wars experience. He's been a part of early development discussions for Disney's first trilogy. So the prequel trilogy, he was part of the discussions with that, and also a Boba Fett project that was canceled. So not the one we got, one that had been planned and then they scrapped it. Some people are saying, or some reports say, that these will be episodes 10, 11, and 12, continuing the Skywalker saga. This project is far too early in development for us to know specifically where this thing is going to fall in the timeline and whose story it's going to be telling. Because Simon Kinberg is also committed to other projects right now. He's got a new Star Trek movie that he's attached to. And he's also attached to The Running Man, which I think The Running Man is a series. Forgive me if I'm wrong, y'all. But Lucasfilm has been struggling to launch a new Star Wars movie, anything, since 2019's Rise of Skywalker, and people were starting to get a little impatient. But that doesn't mean that they wanted them to rush a selection. And some people feel like this selection is rushed. I feel like he also gave us, or he at least executive produced, on a lot of those X-Men films, Days of Future Past, and that's the one that's standing out to me, like in my mind right now. Days of Future Past. I think he had a hand in the Deadpool movie, the original Deadpool movie. So I mean, he's had his hands in some movies that turned out to be pretty good. And I think we should give Simon Kinberg a chance. I really hope that I don't eat these words in months or years to come. As far as his recent box office failures, I hope that he does his big one with episodes 10, 11, and 12. If that's what we're getting, whatever it is, I am wishing the best for him, because I do not want to see this man get chewed up and spit out by the Star Wars fandom. So you let me know what you thought about these Star Wars announcements that we had from D23, and we're going to move on. Next, we've got two pretty big updates to upcoming Marvel features for next year, for the Thunderbolts and for Captain America Brave New World, that came out of D23 Brazil. We saw two extended trailers for both movies, and let me tell you, I think I'm a little more excited than I had been. And I've already been excited for this Captain America Brave New World film. I'm feeling a little bit better about Thunderbolts after seeing more of the premise of the movie. But that Captain America Brave New World, it really seems like it's about to tap into some of our real world anxieties as we looked at this trailer. It is a kind of a political espionage film exploring themes of conspiracy and manipulation. Seems like we're going to see some abuse of power. Seems like we're going to see a little patriotism and some betrayal and a moral ambiguity around the character of Thunderbolt Ross, played in this iteration by Harrison Ford. And it's like, who better to embody that political espionage that we've come to associate his name with in movies like Clear and Present Danger and others. That's just the one that comes to my mind. That is one of the things that stood out, and its similarities to like the Manchurian Candidate kind of stood out to me too. This looks like something that might be coming out too soon after, what happened the other day. After a contentious election cycle, this seems like it might be coming out a little soon. I also think that audiences will be ready for a kind of thought-provoking exploration of what political machinations would be involved if we somehow elected a big red rage monster to the highest office of the land. So you tell me what you thought about the trailers for both of these movies, and we'll move on to the next subject. And now let's talk about the box office. 35 days. That's it. That's the average theatrical window for a movie in 2024. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, why does that even matter, Tasha? But it does. It affects how much money a movie makes, and it can even change how we experience these movies. See, back in my day, movies would stay in the theaters for months and months on end. But now, with streaming services and everything, studios are trying to get their movies onto those platforms faster because it's all about the money, honey, as far as these studios that own their own streaming platforms. Now, what I'm talking about, or where I'm going with this, is that the bigger a budget that this film has, the more it takes to make it profitable. So, a good opening weekend for a big budget movie, and we're talking, let's just throw a number out there, shall we? $250 million budget. That's very specific, but $250 million budget, a good opening for a movie like that is between 75 and $100 million. That's going to indicate that people are strongly interested in that movie, and it sets the stage for profitability later on. A great opening for a movie like that would be between 100 and $150 million. And then an exceptional opening for a film like that would be $150 million plus. We've seen a few movies reach that milestone, and that puts the movie in the realm of a major blockbuster. It exceeds expectations and it sets it up for a massive overall gross at the end of its theatrical run. Now, there are a couple of other things that could affect profitability. That is the international market. The international market is increasingly important. A strong showing overseas can significantly contribute to a film's overall success. We can think like Venom 2. It didn't do so well stateside, but when we looked at the overseas market, we're like, wow, it's overachieving in the overseas market. Then also its long-term performance. A film's long-term performance after a successful opening weekend, what we call legs, how well a film holds up in those subsequent weeks after its opening. Those weeks are crucial as well for its overall profitability. So think The Wild Robot. We've been talking about The Wild Robot now for like 7 weeks. It had a $78 million budget. It has thus far made $274.5 million worldwide, and it opened to 35.8 roughly. So that 35.8 was exactly what we needed that $78 million budget film to do, and it has exceeded its expectations. It's still in the box office. It's still landing in the top 5 movies at the box office to this week. And when you think movies like Barbie and the Super Mario Brothers movies, those movies had opening weekends exceeding $150 million domestically. And that set them on track for a huge box office success. And those movies are looked at as shining stars of the films that have come out in recent years. Then we look at the underperformance of some of these movies. They, despite being marketed well, some movies just fall short of expectations on opening weekend, and that signals potential problems, potential trouble for their overall profitability. Joker 2 is a huge example, and if we looked at just the domestic opening, Venom: The Last Dance would fall into that category. So ultimately, a successful opening weekend is relative to a film's specific circumstances and the studio's expectations. But if a studio pumps $250 million into the budget of a film, they have high expectations if they give a movie that kind of budget. So now let's get down to the business of why I brought all of that up. We're going to talk about Red One, this holiday action comedy extravaganza that is starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Chris Evans, Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons. You got some big names there, right? This movie has an awful lot riding on it because it had that huge, hefty $250 million budget. The big question for me, and maybe for you, is can it turn a profit? So, with the theatrical window shrinking faster than a snowman in July, it's a tightrope walk for Red One. Movies just don't have that breathing room in theaters to rake in box office dollars before they head to streaming. And let's face it, this is a Christmas movie. That doesn't exactly bode well for this getting an extended stay in theaters like The Wild Robot. People will eventually get tired of Christmas movies. And this one comes out November 15th, technically. It technically comes out November 15th. So that means it has what, at the most 6 weeks to make up that budget and exceed it. But anywho, adding to the unlikelihood of it having a strong opening weekend, early reviews for Red One have not exactly been glowing. The critics are saying it's a bit of a Christmas mishmash. It strays away from those warm and fuzzy holiday feels that we've come to expect from Christmas movies, and instead, we're getting some Santa with a security detail, a kidnapping plot, enough action sequences to make Rudolph's nose blink Morse code SOS. It's different. Different is not always bad, but different ain't always good either. But now hold on. Before we write this off as a holiday humbug, let's not forget about the star power of Dwayne Johnson. The man is a box office machine, and his presence alone in this movie could draw in a massive audience. And then there's also Chris Evans, who is also a bona fide action star in his own right. Plus, the holiday season is a prime time for movie going. So that's a big plus for Red One. People do come out on holiday weekends to see these big movies. So crossing fingers, right? So can this unconventional Christmas movie defy the odds and jingle all the way to the bank? It's a tough call to make. We got that shrinking theatrical window we talked about. We got mixed reviews of the film that we're talking about. And it's a non traditional Christmas movie. All of that are obstacles for this movie to try to overcome. But Dwayne Johnson's box office clout and a prime holiday release date, Red One just might have enough Christmas magic to pull it off. Now, I'm going to keep my eye on it. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. Now, whether or not Red One fizzles, a Dwayne Johnson flick is set to make waves at the holiday box office with Moana 2. This Thanksgiving, Disney's bringing back our favorite Polynesian princess, and it looks like she's about to break the bank. Early projections have Moana 2 raking in a whopping $125 to $135 million over the 5-day Thanksgiving weekend. Now, that's not just a boatload of cash, it would shatter the current Thanksgiving box office record held by, no surprise, Frozen. Now, this sequel has already made a splash online. The trailer alone racked up a record-breaking 178 million views in its first 24 hours. Plus, it set a new record for first-day advance ticket sales. So clearly, folks are ready to set sail with Moana again. And this is great news for theaters, especially since you got Gladiator 2 and Wicked also hitting screens around the same time. It looks like this Thanksgiving is shaping up to be a feast for movie lovers and a much needed boost for the box office. Now, I don't know about you. I'm excited to see what new adventures Moana and Maui get into. And with new music from the talented duo behind the unofficial Bridgerton musical, Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, I have a feeling the soundtrack is going to be fire and that we will probably be hearing awards buzz around at least one or some of those songs. So for Moana, you're going to mark your calendars for November 27th because I got a feeling she's gonna make a tidal wave at the box office. Now, before we even get to November 27th and Moana, we have a huge weekend of November 22nd releases to get through. Red One is going to be facing some heavy competition in its second week with the openings of Universal's Wicked and Paramount's Gladiator 2. I think a couple of weeks ago I said Wicked was a Disney movie. Shame on me. It is not Disney, it's Universal. Anywho, if things go down like they're projected, nothing is going to stop Wicked from topping the weekend with $80 million. That's what that's projected. Gladiator 2 is slated to go for second with $55 million. And then maybe Red One will hold on for third in the weekend preceding Thanksgiving weekend. So notice I'm not pushing this weekend, November 15th, too hard because most studios steered clear of running into the three-headed monster of Moana, Gladiator, and Wicked during opening weekend for the holidays. So those are reasons that I am extremely concerned about Red One making up that whopper of a budget because you've got some good movies coming out around it, but Christmas you got Lion King to deal with, right? So it's just going to be interesting to see if Red One can make it up. But I know that Moana, Wicked, and Gladiator are set to start very strong in their opening windows. So you tell me, are any of those movies that you're interested in going to see? Will you be going to see Red One at the movies or Wicked, Moana 2? Will you be going to see Gladiator 2 with Denzel and Pedro Pascal? And man, that's a huge, beautiful cast that they've got there. I truly would like to know how many people are planning to get out and go see a flick this coming holiday season. Let me know down in the comments and we'll move on. And we're going to go ahead on and stick a bow on it because that's a wrap. It is supper time. We have some good old salmon croquettes down here in Houston, Texas. But you tell me what you liked about today's show because I know you like something. You better. You keep coming back. I guess you like it. But hopefully you enjoyed the show. I've got more that I could have said, but this shit was running long. I could talk all day. But anywho, if you've enjoyed today's episode, please make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure you've subscribed and come back. Join me here again. Make sure that you turn your notifications on so you will know when I upload the next video. Yeah, I guess we can meet back here, right here at the intersection where pop culture meets common sense because you deserve so much more than just tea. Get you some salmon croquettes. Peace.